Hello, hello. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. And happy first day of summer. Hopefully, you all are getting some good weather out there. We were just chatting. We're all getting terrible weather on the East Coast, but hopefully, you guys are getting something a little bit better. But I digress. We have a treat for you. We have our friend here, Grace Green, a trusted partner of DonorSearch, from Double the Donation, and she is going to share a little bit about company gift matching, and really what Double the Donation does and how they might be able to help your nonprofit. And so, I want to keep intros short there. So, Grace, take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Brandon, and thanks for having me. Good to see all of you virtually. And thank you for joining us and spending a little bit of your afternoon with us. I will go ahead and share my screen so we can kind of dive right into the presentation. So my screen share is loading. Hopefully you all will be able to see that in just a minute. Awesome. So like Brandon said, we're going to be talking a little bit about corporate gift matching and just matching gifts through the middle of the year. I can't believe it's already the first day of summer, that we're already heading quickly into the second half of the year, but hopefully we're going to take a look at some of the recent trends, recent statistics that we've seen, and kind of set you all up to take advantage of corporate matching gifts at your organization. So a little bit more formal introduction of myself. My name is Grace. I'm on the partnerships team at Double the Donation. If you're not familiar with Double the Donation, we are the leading provider of automation tools to nonprofits and educational institutions to help them raise more from corporate matching gifts. So it makes sense that that's what we're talking about today. And we actually have a partnership and technical integration with DonorSearch, like Brandon mentioned. So I'm really honored to be here today and have the opportunity to talk with you all.
Perfect. And I guess I'll intro myself as well. Brandon Lyons, so I'm the Vice President of Strategic Partnership here at DonorSearch. And so, like Grace was mentioning, we do have a lovely integration with them, and we love being able to work with them. And you can find that integration. It'll be in your search options in your online tool. So if you have DonorSearch, just go to your search options and you'll see the corporate gift matching tab there. And then, if you're not a DonorSearch client, feel free to reach out to us and learn more about it.
Awesome. Thanks, Brandon. Again, thanks for having me. Really excited to kind of dive into the meat of our presentation for today. So taking a look at the agenda, as the title of the presentation suggests, and as I kind of alluded to, we're going to first start off by taking a look at just the matching gift landscape in 2023 in general. Again, halfway through the year, it's a good time to kind of step back, see what's going on, evaluate what worked at the beginning of the year, and then set yourself up for success moving through the other half of the year. And then we'll dissect some matching gift industry insights so you can kind of inform your strategy and make adjustments there. And then, of course, we'll offer some best practices that we've established here at Double the Donation that will hopefully help you grow your giving. And then we'll have time for some questions at the end as well. But if you're like me, and if you don't send your question into the chat right when you think of it, then you will forget it. Feel free to use the chat and the Q&A section kind of as we're moving through, and we'll kind of get to those at the end. But feel free to kind of chat and send in messages as we're moving through. We're really excited to kind of have you all with us today. So let's go ahead and get started with our mid-year matching gift update. We're going to start with what's the latest, what do you need to know, kind of what's the breakdown of corporate matching gift programs right now. So as you can see, I've got quite a few notable logos on the screen, just to give you an idea of some of the larger, more household names that are offering matching gift programs to their employees. A lot of these, like I said, are big household names. They're companies that I would say most of us who are watching are familiar with. And so while matching gift programs are certainly popular among large corporations, they're not necessarily exclusive or only available to companies who have employees in the tens of thousands or who have an international presence or even considered a household name. That's not a requirement to have a matching gift program. Rather, these programs are becoming more and more widespread across companies of all sizes. And we'll get into that a little bit later, but especially as matching gifts and just corporate philanthropy in general continue to be a strong employee engagement and retention tool, we're seeing these programs kind of have an uptick across the board beyond that just major corporation threshold. And then one other thing I want to call out as we're kind of looking at the logos on the screen here is a relatively common misconception that we see here on the double the donation side of things, which is people often believing that only openly philanthropic companies offer matching gift programs. So if you're thinking the Patagonias of the world, companies who have made it part of their core mission to include philanthropic efforts, of course, they likely have a matching gift program, but they are not the only companies that have matching gift programs. And so even with some of these examples, you can see that these programs really span across industries. So whether that's retail, food and beverage, oil and gas, technology, entertainment, we really see these widespread across companies and across industries. So although it might have started in that larger, more international scale company who are openly philanthropic realm, we've actually seen them continue to kind of spread across the existing company landscape and become more important as an employee engagement and retention tool. So good news is, bottom line, matching gifts are everywhere. Thousands upon thousands of companies offer these types of programs as an employee benefit, and then that's actually translating to millions of donors who are eligible for these types of programs. So it's really just a matter of making sure that you're able to communicate that opportunity. And then getting a little bit more granular, just to give you an idea of kind of what's going on in the year 2023, I wanted to highlight a few of the more like recent program happenings in the matching gift world. So in the first 6 months of this year, we've seen companies start, restart, and then expand upon their existing matching gift programs. So you'll see a couple of examples on the screen here. Companies like Russell Reynolds Associates and the Kraft Group, they just established their matching gift programs, made them available to their employees, and then are now offering that additional philanthropic benefit. You also have companies like UPS and Kimray Inc. who have reinstated their programs. So a select few companies kind of put their programs on pause over the last couple of years as we've navigated some recent economic and job market happenings. There's a lot of turnover, a lot of changes, both in the job market and in kind of the way of life as we know it with the pandemic. So with that, we've had some kind of pauses and shifts. However, it's become kind of apparent that incorporating matching gifts in general and corporate philanthropy in general as part of a benefits package is really helpful for a retention tool and becoming increasingly important both on the consumer side of things as well. So companies like UPS have reinstated their programs to give that giving opportunity back to their employees. And then lastly on this slide, you'll see we've seen the expansion of some existing matching gift programs. So expansion has actually been a relatively common trend recently as companies, again, are looking to be desirable both to consumers and to job seekers. We've seen a trend that as consumers, we want to engage with more philanthropic companies. We want to engage with companies who are contributing back to their community. So programs like matching gift programs and corporate philanthropy and CSR initiatives in general have become more popular and more valuable when it comes to keeping and attracting kind of the talent that companies are hoping to. So companies like American Eagle and the Hartford, who have expanded their programs, are kind of doing that as an employee benefit. American Eagle actually used to match up to $500 per employee. So an employee could get a $500 donation matched or two $250 donations matched, so on and so forth. And now they will match up to $2,000 per employee. So that's a $1,500 increase in their matching gift program maximum. So really exciting for those employees and those donors to be able to make their gifts go that much further. So program updates and expansions are just especially notable as you're thinking about how this affects your organization and how you might be able to kind of tune into some of these happenings around the world to know what opportunities might be available for your donors. And then with some of these kind of reinstatements and expansions in mind, there's also a few key trends that we're seeing for matching gifts in 2023 in general. So I've outlined 4 of them here that I want to just quickly talk through to give you an idea of where kind of the matching gift sector in general is going. So first, a trend we're seeing is increased small to mid-sized company involvement in matching gift programs. I kind of alluded to this at the very beginning as we're seeing more and more companies kind of take up these programs and implement them across their companies, but there's a huge benefit to being publicly philanthropic, to being inwardly philanthropic, and making sure that your employees are aware of that. So we continue to see that the number of small to mid-sized companies offering matching gift programs is steadily increasing, in addition to those large household names that we're seeing as well. As programs become more well-known, they're easier to facilitate. And we'll talk on that with trend number 4 here. But as they become easier to facilitate, easier to implement at the company, it's an easier benefit for a company to have for their employees. Next trend we're seeing is continuous program growth. So in addition to more and more companies adopting these programs, we're actually continuing to see programs expand, like we just saw with American Eagle, for example. According to a recent study, 94% of major US corporations plan to heighten or maintain their philanthropy budget in the next few years. So that's really exciting as we're thinking about matching gift programs and how companies are going to continue to engage and invest in these types of programs. Corporate philanthropy in general is extremely important, and so continuing to invest time and resources into these programs is remaining pretty important for companies who are looking to stay at the top. And I think that this is a trend that will only continue to evolve as more and more employees and donors and consumers alike express that these type of programs are important to them. Next trend that we have here actually relates to you all as the nonprofit. So as a fundraising institution, and as you continue to make a more proactive approach to matching gifts, it makes it a lot easier for these programs to kind of be taken advantage of. And there's some unique components and parameters that kind of come up when it relates to submitting a matching gift request. And we'll dig into that, but we continue to see the primary barrier being a lack of donor awareness. And so as organizations like yourselves kind of prioritize these strategies that allow donors to easily understand or connect with, and then subsequently request a matching gift from their employer, more donors are going to follow through with that process. And then we see organizations actually reap the benefit of the program, which is the goal in and of itself, is to have a program that is directly affecting and impacting nonprofits in the community. And then lastly, as companies in the for-profit and nonprofit sectors continue to work together to build out seamless technical avenues, the matching gift process continues to get easier as well. So not only is it easier for a company to implement and manage and facilitate a matching gift program, it's also getting easier for the donor to go in and submit a matching gift request on the back end as well. So as we continue to make technical advancements and companies are learning how to best facilitate matching gift programs and figure out how to distribute funds the best way to nonprofits, the process is only going to be simpler for donors, nonprofits, and companies, which only kind of reinforces this idea that matching gifts are a win-win-win. So this is something that we're pushing for at Double the Donation, and integrations like the one that we have with DonorSearch are always a step in the right direction as we kind of weave these programs and opportunities together with just technical advancements in general. So we've kind of broken down the key trends, established what's going on in the matching gift world right now, what's the latest in 2023. So now I want to take a quick look at the matching gift industry as a whole and kind of what your organization needs to understand about the matching gift process in general to be able to best maximize fundraising and, of course, bring in the most additional revenue from corporate matching gifts. So what makes a matching gift program? So this is where it can get a little bit tricky. There are 5 main components that make up a matching gift program, and those are the 5 that you see here. Where it gets a little bit tricky is that there's no sort of universal standard of what a matching gift program looks like. There's definitely some commonalities and there's some overlap among companies, especially based on company size or location or employee demographic, but there's not a this is what a matching gift program is, period statement. So to kind of break these down a little bit more, we'll start with institution eligibility. So basically what that means is not every nonprofit is going to be eligible for a matching gift from every matching gift program. And what I mean is that companies will have certain parameters that they set out for their matching gift program that says we match to these types of organizations and we don't match to these types of organizations. Primarily, we see that the majority of matching gift programs are going to match to almost all 501c3s. Where we see some discrepancy or some limitations is typically for political campaigns and houses of worship. But for faith-based organizations, they're often still eligible for matching gifts, and same with educational institutions, arts and cultural foundations, health and human services. All of the kind of traditional 501c3 organizations tend to be eligible for matching gifts from most companies. So that's one thing that I just like to call out, that you may not be eligible for a matching gift from every single company, but pretty much across the board, we see 501c3s tend to be pretty eligible, and educational institutions in general tend to be the most eligible. We see some companies that will match at a higher ratio or a higher threshold depending on what type of organization you are. And so that kind of leads into the next idea here, match ratio. And that is essentially just like the exact dollar amount in which a company will match. So the most standard ratio that we see is 1-to-1, which is pretty literal. It means that if I worked for the Home Depot, I make a $100 donation to my local animal shelter. I let the Home Depot know, I submit my matching gift request, then Home Depot is going to donate $100 as well. So that's that exact 1-for-1 ratio. We see companies offer 2-to-1 ratios as well. So they will effectively triple the donation because the donor gave and then they give twice that. We've also seen 3-to-1, and I think there is the rogue 5-to-1 ratio out there as well. Those are definitely fewer and far between. Like I said, the most common ratio we see is that 1-to-1 ratio, but there are kind of options across the board. And then there are some programs as well that might match at a 0.5-to-1 ratio. So they would half the donation as well. The next is employee eligibility. This one, similar to institution eligibility, just means that not every employee is necessarily available for every matching gift program. And this comes into play more when you're thinking of those household name companies, when they have tens of thousands of employees who some might be part-time, some might be full-time, some might be contract. Those are kind of when you get more into the weeds of employee eligibility. But we've seen kind of with the expansion of these programs, also the expansion of employee eligibility. So it used to be pretty common that you would just see companies matching the donations of full-time employees. And now we're actually seeing that expanded to part-time employees, retirees, and even sometimes the spouses of current employees. So definitely some options to consider as you're thinking about kind of engaging in these programs and sharing these with your donors, is how they might fit into this employee eligibility benchmark. And then you have gift amount here. So gift amount is relatively straightforward. It just means that every company has a minimum and a maximum donation that is their matching threshold. So essentially every company has a floor and a ceiling of what they consider a matchable donation. So again, no universal standard here of like, this is the lowest every company goes and this is the highest every company goes. However, I will say that we often see the average minimum coming in around $20 to $25, and the average maximum is a little bit more variable, but it's usually in between that $5,000 to $10,000 range. So definitely some opportunity there, especially as you're thinking about kind of making the most of your like small to mid level donors. One thing that I think is always just fun to call out when we're talking about gift amount is Soros Fund Management. Their maximum is $100,000. So there are a lot of opportunities out there, and it's just kind of making sure that you're aware of them. And so although we do see those averages, there are people on both sides of the averages that are important to keep in mind. And then lastly, here we have program deadlines. And I think this is probably the most important for you as the fundraising institution. And really, that's just because every donation that is eligible for a matching gift is going to have some kind of deadline associated with it. It's going to have some kind of expiration date where the donor can no longer submit that matching gift request to their employer. The good news is that most of these are a year or they're timed around the calendar year. So often we see most matching gift requests are due on December 31st. Some of them have a grace period where you're looking at like January 15th or maybe end of January, early February. But more often than not, we see that it's timed around kind of the end of the calendar year, which I know this is jumping ahead a little bit, but giving season will be here before we know it. And so as you're thinking about that and thinking about some of the opportunities that matching gifts might present for your organization, it's nice to be able to reflect back on what gifts you've received over the course of the year that might be eligible for matching gifts. And then you can kind of go back in and ultimately still double a donation that might have been from March of this year, or maybe even from January of this year, if you're kind of getting in before that December 31st deadline. So that's always something I like to call out as we are quickly heading into the end of your giving season. So knowing these kind of 5 components makes it easier to understand and often kind of convey the idea of a matching gift program to your donors and to kind of know what qualifications are required. Like I said, no universal standard here, but knowing that these are some of the kind of common features that are required is helpful when you're trying to think about ways to best communicate matching gift programs. So knowing that that's the making of a matching gift program, what about the submission process itself? How does that compare? What does that look like? So the matching gift submission process is also pretty straightforward. A donor submits their gift, then they submit the matching gift request, their employer approves the request according to kind of those 5 guidelines we just outlined, and then the company would issue payment to the nonprofit. So unfortunately, we tend to run into issues in that step 2, where donors would be submitting the matching gift request. This is kind of the step where the process often falls off and a matching gift request usually doesn't get submitted. And so as a result, we see that a lot of these funds go underutilized. And so approximately $4 to $7 billion in matching gift funds are going unclaimed annually. And kind of put that in perspective for you for what it means to be unclaimed or left on the table is at the beginning of each fiscal year, companies are going to allocate funds and plan out their budget like they normally do. Companies are going to decide, okay, we are going to dedicate XYZ amount of money to our corporate philanthropy initiatives and use that to pursue those at our company. And so matching gifts, of course, would fall into that category. And so when a matching gift request just goes unsubmitted, when a donor doesn't use those funds that are available to them, then it really is left on the table because it's already in the company's budget. They kind of already decided, hey, we're going to use this for this initiative, and that's what that's for. And so that kind of begs the question, well, why? Why aren't they using it? Why aren't people submitting matching gift requests? Why are companies letting that money go unused? Kind of what's the culprit behind this idea, this phenomenon? And the answer is that most donors don't know about matching gifts, or if they do know, they don't know if they're eligible or they don't know how to submit. So nearly 80% of donors have no idea whether or not their employer offers a matching gift program. It's not always something that's talked about outside of like an HR office, or maybe it's on page 27 of the employee handbook and the employees looking on page 4 because that's where their health insurance benefits are. It's those kind of things that'll keep a donor from not being aware of these type of benefits. And It's just not something that they typically look for. We're seeing that kind of change as, like I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, more and more donors are considering these programs valuable. We're definitely seeing an uptick in the interest, but it tends to be something that donors aren't always aware of. And as a result, only 7% of match eligible donors actually go on to submit that matching gift request. So this big fundraising gap that we're seeing in matching gifts is actually a result of the lack of donor awareness surrounding matching gift programs. So if a donor doesn't know they can submit a gift, or they don't know they're eligible to submit a matching gift request, how would they go about that? How would they ever know? It's the same kind of philosophy of, if you don't ask for a donation, you'll never receive a donation, and if you don't ask for a matching gift request, you'll never receive a matching gift request. So that kind of leads us into the last kind of component of the presentation here, which are these matching gift best practices to help you hopefully grow the revenue that you're receiving from matching gifts. So the goal here in these next couple of slides is to give your organization some tactical and realistic tips that you can hopefully implement to help your organization raise more. So we're going to go ahead and jump in, but if you have any specific questions or kind of ideas as we're moving through these next couple of best practices, feel free to leave those in the chat or in the Q&A section, and I'll be happy to kind of dive into those a little bit further as well. So to start us off, I first just kind of wanted to go over the value of communicating matching gifts and why it can be helpful. Again, the biggest barrier to receiving matching gift funds is that lack of donor awareness. And so if a donor doesn't know about this program, then they're not going to be able to submit the matching gift request. And so the ultimate goal here would be to make donors aware, of course, and then close that revenue gap as a result. So given the trends that we kind of covered at the beginning of the presentation, it probably comes as no surprise that well over half of Fortune 500 companies are already offering these types of programs. And that number is continuing to grow and even touch small to mid-sized corporations as well. So as a result, we see over 26 million individuals who are working for companies that offer these types of programs. So there's probably a pretty good chance that some of those 26 million people are either existing or prospective donors of yours. And so to give you an idea of why this is important and why it's helpful to communicate matching gifts kind of across the board, is that matching gift messaging can be a really valuable engagement tool. So 84% of donors are more likely to donate if a match is offered. 71% more donors respond to fundraising appeals that mention matching. And then we see a 51% increase in donation amount when mentioning matching as well. So what those numbers tell us is that matching gifts can be an especially motivating tool for donors who are looking to see their donation and then the subsequent impact of that donation go as far as possible. And especially when you're thinking about kind of recent economic trends that we're seeing, the ability to stretch a donation without having to reach back into your own wallet can carry a lot of value for individual donors. And so with that, we're going to quickly walk through kind of 4 of the steps to get started marketing matching gifts at your website or at your organization, and kind of building a philosophy of a matching gift strategy so that you can kind of best take advantage of these programs. So starting with matching gifts on your website, we are going to go ahead and dive in there. So again, we're combating this donor awareness gap. So first things first, you want to ensure that your website has mentions of matching gifts wherever it's relevant or wherever you think it might be valuable. So we recommend creating a dedicated matching gift page that can live on your website, maybe in a like ways to give section or a how to support us section, ways to get involved, something like that. You know your donor demographic the best, but whatever way they're going to look to find more ways to get involved is where you might want to incorporate something like this. So a dedicated matching gift page kind of serves as a hub of information for your donors, providing them with relevant details on matching gift programs, how they can maximize their impact if it applies to them. And then so when you're creating a page like this, one, you want to make sure it's pretty user friendly, it's easy to understand. You'll likely want to include instructions or kind of relevant information on how donors might be able to check their eligibility and then submit that matching gift request. In the kind of screenshot you see on the slide, there's that option to use kind of a dedicated matching gift search tool like the one that we offer at Double the Donation, so that it's somewhere a donor could come back to for your organization to look into that opportunity. And then it can also be helpful to include some FAQs that might come up for donors during the submission process. So maybe things that might not be relatively top of mind for a donor when they think of your organization. So like your EIN number, that may not be something that they know off the top of their head, but they might need for the submission process. So EIN number, a good mailing address, contact information that's relevant. So if a donor does have questions, they can kind of reach out to you accordingly. And then you can also include references to matching gifts kind of on your website and your email outreach on social media, and then link back to a page like this to keep things streamlined and keep it so that a donor always knows kind of where to come back to if they have questions. The idea here is just to remind your donors that they have this opportunity to tap into a new or different or engaging fundraising opportunity. And so simplicity and just like clarity are going to be what's really valuable here. You don't have to reinvent the wheel when you're creating a page like this, just making sure your donors know the option is available. And then of course that again, they can have somewhere to come back to check in if they ever have any follow-up questions or want to know more about a matching gift program. So with that, our kind of next best practice is to position matching gifts as an additional way to give back. And so corporate matching gifts in general are a valuable stewardship and engagement tool for nonprofits because they provide you kind of the option to take a relationship a step further with your donor beyond kind of an additional solicitation. And so if you're actively promoting these programs, you can provide donors with an ongoing opportunity to extend their support without having to reach back into their own wallet. So it's a great way to kind of keep a donor connected, keep them engaged, send follow-ups between your solicitations, but that also provide additional funding for your organization. So it's a great way to say, hey, look at another way that you can give, but this donation doesn't have to come directly from your wallet. And that's a great way, again, as people are considering the kind of financial implications of where we are right now and how they want to best serve their the causes that they care about the most, it's going to be a great way to have this opportunity available. And so encouraging donors to kind of participate in these programs not only could potentially increase the dollar amount of their donation, but also the impact, and then keeps them connected to your organization because you can send your initial thank you, you can send a matching gift follow-up, you can send a thank you for submitting the matching gift request, and then you have kind of two impact statements as well. Thanks to your initial gift and thanks to your match gift, this is what we were able to do. So really leveraging matching gifts as a stewardship tool can help your organization have that kind of ongoing dialogue with supporters, and then giving them those valuable impact statements is probably what they're most interested in because that's what got them connected to your organization in the first place, probably what compelled them to give. So keeping that at the forefront of the conversation and kind of reinforcing what they're able to do with a matched gift just makes it that much easier for a donor to want to stay connected and give again and submit an additional matching gift request. So next best practice involves collecting employment information on your donation form. So this is a more strategic approach, but can be really helpful when you're looking to raise more from corporate matching gifts and then also just get this idea in front of more donors. It plants the seed of matching gifts like as the donor is giving, while they're still in that giving mindset, they're feeling connected to your organization, and now they're being presented with this new and engaging opportunity to stretch their donation. And so capturing donor employment details gives you one, access to valuable donor data that allows you to kind of see those matching gift opportunities among your existing supporters, but it also allows you to frame the matching gift submission process for the donor from the get-go. So it makes it easier to kind of control that narrative and make sure they know what to expect from the matching gift process and how it's going to benefit your organization. And then from there, you can also send targeted outreach based on what you know about them. Maybe you identify that a lot of your your donors work at Home Depot, and then you're able to set kind of volunteer day through Home Depot, or you're able to facilitate a one-off matching gift program through Home Depot where they match at a higher ratio just for your organization. So keeping this information on hand can be really helpful as you build and establish a more robust kind of matching gift strategy in general. And then, similar to other ways that you collect and compile donor data and information, name, mailing address, email, phone number, alma mater, so on and so forth, asking a donor where they work just kind of adds to this comprehensive donor profile that you're creating. And similar to some of the insights that DonorSearch can provide, it just allows you to have the best view of your supporters and understand the connections and the ways that they're able to give. And again, if you don't ask, you'll never know. So simple strategy here, but the idea here, just ask. And then our last kind of best practice that we'll talk through is after you collect that employer information, what do you do with it? We would recommend that you send follow-up emails to encourage donors that you've identified as eligible to pursue those matching gift opportunities. Or if you don't know where a donor works, or you were unable to collect that information from the donation process, reach out to those donors to find out if they might be eligible and how they can go from there. So sending these matching gift follow-up emails allows you, again, valuable engagement and solicitation opportunities with the added benefit of receiving additional funding from those match eligible donations. So it allows you to keep in touch with the donor, keep them connected on what's the latest at your organization, but then also give them the opportunity to give again without reaching back into their own wallet. Research that we've done at Double Donation has found sending matching gift reminder emails within the first 24 hours after a donation actually has a 53% open rate, which is 2 to 3 times higher than kind of the industry average. And so it can be extremely beneficial for donor engagement and responsiveness to send these reminder emails. And again, when you're thinking about some of those stats we talked about a couple of slides ago, 84% more donors are likely to donate. I think 1 in 3 donors is more likely to donate if they know a matching gift is eligible. And so having these opportunities as a touch point for your donors is going to be really valuable as well. And then kind of bringing everything together, a matching gift reminder email is a great place to link out to a dedicated matching gift page that you created, close the loop there for your donors, give them something to come back to. But again, the bottom line is really just to make it as easy as possible for your donors so that they'll take that next step, secure that additional revenue, and then be more connected to your organization and feel compelled to give again. So if you know where a donor works, you can provide links in your follow-up email, and so they can immediately kick off the matching gift process from that email. I see that we have a question about sharing some specific links. And in this instance, my recommendation is to know where your donor works. You'll want to use that information to provide a specific link. So for example, the Home Depot, I know I've been using them a lot. They're an Atlanta-based company and I'm an Atlanta-based person. So that's why I always come back to them. But the Home Depot uses a CSR vendor. And so what we would recommend is connecting the donor to that CSR vendor's login portal, CSR being corporate social responsibility. So that type of information that might be available in a like matching gift database that Double the Donation offers, that's something that we would recommend looking into so that you'd be able to provide those kind of direct links of a CSR vendor portal or something like that, kind of dependent on what company that you're looking at or what company a donor might work for. But really the idea here, again, close the loop for your donors, make it easy, and combat that lack of donor awareness. So just a reminder email can be the thing that kind of pushes a donor across the finish line and says, oh, hey, I am eligible for this program. I'm going to go ahead and submit my matching gift request. So those are kind of our top tips and best practices for matching gifts and how they can help you raise more. That kind of wraps up the content that I had planned for today. So we can go ahead and open up the floor to any questions you might have whether they are about some of the best practices we just mentioned, just the matching gift industry in general, the latest trends that we talked about at the beginning. You're welcome to kind of send those into the chat or the Q&A for us here, and we'll kind of hang out and answer any of those questions that come in.
Yeah, while we're waiting for those to come in, I want to say thank you again, Grace, for joining us and sharing so much knowledge. I know that we work closely, but some of those stats were even a surprise to me. I didn't realize. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Brandon. And thank you to the DonorSearch team for having me. It's always a pleasure to work with you guys. And I hope that those of you who are tuning in with us today, or maybe tuning into the recording, found this helpful as well. I have some contact information on the screen. So if we hang up here and you find yourself itching to ask another question, you can always reach out to me or reach out to the DonorSearch team, and they can get you connected to us as well.
Man, yeah, it doesn't look like we're getting questions, but a lot of thank yous. But there will, so if we got a question, will there be video? There will be. We'll send you a link to the video, as well as you'll get a copy of the deck after this as well.
All right. Well, if there's no more questions, then I again really appreciate all of you joining us today, and thank you again to the DonorSearch team for having me. But Brandon, I'll let you see us out.
Alrighty. Well, yep, everyone take care. Again, thanks for joining us on this wonderful Wednesday and the first day. It is Wednesday. Yes, it is. And also for joining us on the first day of summer. You could be out of the pool party, but you chose to be here with us. And so, we look forward to being able to speak to you all again. Alrighty. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.